I'm just a little disoriented. Mommy's tired. Okay. Well, we try this. You get your blanket and your stuffed animal, and you lay down here and see if you feel sleepy, and I can try to talk to you until you doze off, or you feel like you'll be able to fall asleep. You think that will work? Alright. When I was about your age, me and my parents, me and my mom and dad, and how many of my siblings were there? I think like three of my siblings. Two of them weren't born yet. But with two of my brothers and one of my younger sisters, and my mom was pregnant with one of my other brothers at the time. We went on a trip to an island. It was the first time that I'd ever been outside of the country that I was born in, and the first thing I remember about landing in the airport, I think it was the first time I'd ever flown in an airplane too. I'd never flown, inside the country before. We just drove everywhere we wanted to go, and one time I took the subway, but most of the time we just went on really, really long car trips. We had to stop like 10,000 times because there were little kids. But we went to visit an island, and when we landed, it was just so hot. I mean, it was like the air was just made of pure steam. In case that's what humidity is or whatever, but and I remember there were a lot of plants and animals that I'd never seen before. Like, I'd seen lizards before, like at the zoo. I think there was like a crocodile or something, but they had these little lizards that were everywhere. They would be in buildings and on walls and trees. I called them geckos, but I think my younger brother told me that they're not actually called geckos, and they changed colors. Like, I thought that chameleons did when I was younger. When they landed on something that was a different color, and they would change to that color. But I actually learned a few years ago that chameleons don't really change colors like we think they do in, cartoons. They always change patterns or whatever to camouflage, but they actually just change colors according to how they're feeling, like some kind of reptilian mood ring or something. But these creatures, like, they would land on a white wall and turn white. I really don't know what they were called. I don't even know. They had like long tails, and some of them had really strange feet that looked like they'd adapted, almost like the branches on a tree or something. It was so weird. I remember, hibiscus flowers. There are a lot of hibiscus flowers in that country. They're like these red flowers with a stem, or I don't know if it's called a stem. What is it called? Like a stamen? I don't know the name of the thing that has the pollen on it in the middle of a flower. But they would have this thing on it, and it sticks out, and it's got like little dots on it. Red ones and yellow ones. I guess the yellow ones have pollen on them. I don't know what the red ones are for. They almost look like suction cups on the end of the flower or something, but they're so pretty. they call them in Spanish flor de Jamaica. I don't know why. That would translate as Jamaican flower. I'm sorry, the motorcyclists are so loud. They disturb my sleep sometimes, especially when they'll be having their motorcycles misfire. I mean, I know they're not doing that on purpose. Well, actually, I've heard before that some people mess up their engines on purpose to try to make them louder. Don't ask me why anyone would want that. It makes it so hard to sleep when they park outside the community doing deliveries and whatnot. Oh, and the toads are so loud too. Can you hear them? They sound like somebody's grinding their teeth or something. I think they're toads. It's just so... I don't even know how I would describe that sound. Scritchy? You know what I mean? There's some noises that when you listen to them from like animals in the distance are kind of relaxing or calming. Like cricket noises never actually bothered me that much. I mean, they can be really loud when they're really close. I think I heard once that crickets are one of the loudest animals. You know, just in general, that they make a lot of noise consistently rather than, you know, some animals can be really loud like bats, but they're not just making noise constantly. But crickets that just go on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, I think that bat was supposed to be the loudest animal. Just period, but, you know, crickets, they make noise all the time, and honestly, dogs. Now, I learned something interesting, actually, that there's a sound ranking chart for how each sound, like, is loud enough to have an effect, and just the scream of a baby is actually loud enough to be dangerous to your ears. It's probably why you're supposed to make sure that they never need to start crying or screaming like that. I like finding out interesting or weird things about the world or animals. My little brother likes to say that if you learn enough about any animal, they're no longer cool, and it is true. There's a lot of weird stuff about a lot of the creatures on planet Earth. There's even weird stuff about humans too, like the fact that your hair is just your dead skin cells turning into something else. Like, what makes it decide that it wants to become like these rope threads? They're not even the same color as your skin most of the time. Like, if you have blonde hair, what makes your hair go from the color that your skin is to turning yellow, or especially if your hair is red? You ever think about that? If this is what your skin turns into, you know, like, I don't think the top layer of your skin is supposed to be alive, but when it, like, it's already not alive when you can look at it, I think I heard. I'm not sure if that's right. But if the top layer of your skin isn't alive and then it turns into your hair, then what makes it change colors when it turns into your hair into something so drastically different? Shouldn't everybody have hair the same color as their skin? I don't even know. You know, the color of your eyes has to do with melanin and pigment too. So how come there are people who have blue and green eyes, but never people who have blue hair or green hair or blue skin or green skin? It's weird when you think about it. I think there are even real people who have purple eyes. It's really rare, but there's this little girl who's like a model, I think, and she has purple eyes. But she just had so much blue pigment in her eyes that her eyes turned purple. I think it's so cool that the human body can adapt the way that it does. I mean, just so uniquely, and that people can look so different from each other. The world would be a really boring place if we all looked the same. Or if the adaptations were so limited that we were all drawing from like 4 options, like random customizable thing. Like if you're playing a video game and you get to choose your avatar, but there's only like 3 body types and 3 eye shapes and hairstyles that they already pre-decided. I'm glad life doesn't go like that. When you think about it, there's always such an indefinite amount of combinations for people that, you rarely meet people that look like other people. That's why doppelgangers and celebrity lookalikes on the internet are such a big deal. If everybody just looked really similar to each other, nobody would care about stuff like that. But unfortunately, we all get these really diverse gene pools that we get to draw from, and bits and pieces of the features from all of our ancestors from centuries and centuries and centuries. If you think about it, we're like puzzle pieces combined of all the people that came before us, almost like an amalgam or a collage. Like we were distilled from centuries and generations of other people to pick this trait and this trait and to become who we are. And those same traits are going to be passed down to people. If you ever have kids, then I passed it down to you, that you have the history of thousands of people inside you. Isn't that such a crazy concept? Like the amount of people that came together over the course of centuries to make you who you are is almost impossible to fathom. I sometimes wonder about, the history of the people that came before me. I wish there was some way to learn more about the people that I came from, the people that, made us the way that we are. We don't know an awful lot about them. Some people are able to trace their history really well. They documented it really clearly so that they know a whole lot about their history, what their grandparents were like, and their great-grandparents, and they did these things, and they had these names, but if I'm honest, I only know the names of my grandparents or my great-grandparents back to like 2 generations on both sides, I think. It makes me wonder, what were the people that I came from like? What sort of lives did they live? What did they look like? Did they look a lot like me? I don't really look like either one of my parents, I don't look like grandmom, I don't look like granddad, but sometimes I wonder if I look like my grandmother or like my great-grandmother, or if I have features from my grandfathers, the ones that I've never met before. Nobody ever tells me that I look like my grandparents, really, but my father once told me that my body type was like his mother's. She was very, very short, though, and so am I, so I guess I get that from her. Sometimes we get interesting traits that we notice as we grow up that were things that we had in common, even with ancestors that we never met. Like, I never met my grandmom on my dad's side, but apparently she liked to do, I guess it's kind of quirky, she liked to eat straight tomatoes. They are a fruit, so you should be able to eat them straight, just like you eat grapes or strawberries, right? She always used to eat tomatoes straight, my dad said. And I never knew that, but when I was little, I used to like eating tomatoes straight too. I would just take like a Roma tomato and eat out of it like an apple. I never even met my grandmom, but I just somehow ended up, with that similar trait that she had. I find that interesting. I wonder how many parts of the ancestors so far back that we don't even have anyone who remembers the things about them that we might have. Like, I love to draw, and what if I had an ancestor who was a really good artist, or ancestors who were really into music or dance, and I ended up with those habits or those interests, and I didn't even know that they came from the people that I came from. It's interesting to think about it when I watch you grow up and you have little traits like me, or traits like your dad, and I always wonder if we develop these traits and it's just a coincidence when we do things like what our parents do, or if it's somehow ingrained in our DNA. Can you pass down a personality through your genes? Can you pass down character traits and interests and even weird tastes in food through your blood? It's a crazy idea. I'm too tired. I'm going to stop talking now so we can go to sleep. I think I'm losing my mind a little